3 in the morning again. The ceiling is already familiar before your eyes even finish opening. Not the middle of a bad dream, not even really about sleep at all. Something else woke you up on purpose. Here's what you'll see tonight, what your evening set in motion, and the one swap that changes it. This isn't rare. Somewhere around 40, this exact hour starts showing up for a lot of people, almost on schedule. It isn't the dark doing this. The dark is only where you notice it. The real story of tonight started hours ago, at a table with a spoon. One plate, one quiet evening. Nothing that felt like a decision. After 40, the body handles that evening sweetness differently than it used to, and tonight, you'll learn exactly how. Two systems inside you are supposed to hand the night off to each other smoothly, like musicians trading a solo. Some evenings, they trade too early. And that handoff is what actually opens your eyes at 3. It isn't a flaw in you. It's timing, thrown off by something small and ordinary a few hours earlier. By evening, after 40, the hands often go looking for something sweet before the mind even asks why. Not a craving to fight, a signal worth understanding. That's what the next hour of this evening is really about. Sugar, stress hormones, and daytime energy, all one connected circuit. You'll get the mechanism first, plain and simple. Then one thing to try tonight, before the lamp goes off. But down the hall, in a dark kitchen, a dessert plate is still sitting on the counter. That's where tonight's story really begins. That dessert plate has an earlier story. It starts back here, at the kitchen table, hours before the ceiling. Picture that spoonful of sweetness, less like fuel and more like lighting a match. A match catches fast, throws bright light, and burns hot for only a few minutes. That's what fast sugar does to your bloodstream. A quick, bright fire, not a steady bed of coals. The body notices the brightness right away, before the plate is even cleared. Something has to answer that brightness. Fast. That answer is a hormone called insulin, and it doesn't ease in. It rushes the door. Insulin's whole job is simple. Usher that sudden sugar out of the blood and into the cells asking for it. But a fire that catches this fast rarely burns evenly. It tends to overcorrect. Hours later, while you sleep, that same insulin is often still working, and blood sugar drops lower than it needs to. It's less a steady coal keeping you warm till morning, and more a match that flares, then gutters out early. A bowl of oatmeal or a handful of walnuts burns slower, more like coals settling into steady heat. No fire lasts alone. Something must tend it, or answer when it dies. This is the part that matters most. That fast little fire always burns down to nothing by 3 in the morning. None of this means the evening sweetness was a mistake. It only means the fire needed tending differently. And something does have to answer when that fire goes out. A second conductor, waiting just off the podium. That little fire from the kitchen table has burned all the way down. Something in the body always has to answer when a fire like that burns out. Picture two conductors quietly sharing one podium across the whole night. One is cortisol, sharp and alert, built to wake the body for the day. The other is melatonin, slow and quiet, built to hold the body under. On an easy, ordinary night, the two conductors trade the podium without a sound. But tonight, cortisol grabbed the baton hours early. That fast little fire from the evening dessert burned out fast too. Blood sugar dropped hard in the dark, and the body read it as an emergency. An emergency call always goes to cortisol first. So it surges out of turn, stepping onto the podium before it's called. But melatonin hasn't even finished its part of the sheet music for tonight. And that's the exact moment the dark bedroom ceiling comes back into focus. Two conductors, sharing one sheet of music, suddenly playing over each other. Not a flaw in either conductor, just a call that arrived at the wrong hour. This is why the body wakes at 3 on an ordinary night. The podium changed hands too soon. The same handoff happens every evening too, long before any lamp goes off. This is the same conductor collision behind the restlessness that starts long before the lights ever go out. That same conductor collision shows up earlier than 3 in the morning. It shows up right here, at dusk. An uneasy, wired feeling before dinner, a craving to settle it, a flat, tired morning after. Most people treat those as 3 separate problems. They're one circuit, wearing 3 masks. You already met the 2 conductors, cortisol and melatonin, and the little fire that sugar lights before bed. The same circuit runs backward too. It doesn't just wake you at night, it shapes the whole day before that. Picture the loop from the start. Evening arrives, and cortisol is still a little high from the day's hours. A restless body reaches for something sweet, not out of habit, out of chemistry. The sugar lights its quick fire. Insulin answers fast, and by early morning, that fire has burned down to nothing. That's the moment cortisol steps out of turn to cover the drop, and the sleeper wakes. One night, repeated, is just one night. But morning after morning of that same jolt leaves less steady energy behind for the day ahead. And a tired daytime body reaches for the same quick fire again by evening. The loop feeds itself. This is why fixing sleep alone or cutting sugar alone so often quietly stops holding after a week or two. One piece was never the whole story. Seeing the full circuit is the useful part, not a reason to worry. So the real question stops being what to stop eating. It becomes, what does tonight specifically actually need? Once the loop is visible, the question changes. Not what to stop eating, what tonight actually needs. 2 hours before bed is where the fire either gets lit again or gets left alone. The first swap is small enough to forget it's a swap at all. Instead of the late dessert, a small warm fruit or a handful of nuts, eaten right at the counter. Fruit and nuts burn slower. The body gets a low, steady coal instead of a flame that flares and dies. No flame flaring up, just embers, holding steady warmth through the whole night. The second swap doesn't happen at night at all. It happens hours earlier, at the dinner table. Moving the sweeter part of the meal here to dinner gives the body hours to use that energy. By 9 at night, that same plate would have asked the body to work while it's trying to rest. Not skipped, just moved hours earlier to where the body still has work to do. One plate moved earlier in the day. One habit moved later in the evening. Same fire, aimed at the right hour. This isn't a stricter diet. It's the same sweetness, standing in a different hour. The garden outside the window doesn't rush its ripening. The evening plate can borrow that same patience. One quiet swap tonight. That's the whole ask. Anyone managing blood sugar closely should shape these swaps with their own doctor, not a video. 2 swaps now sit on this table, both quiet. Neither one asks for willpower at midnight. One more habit still waits between this table and the front door, for its own place in the evening. One habit still waits between the dinner table and the front door. It isn't a workout. It's 10 quiet minutes for the stomach to finish its own work. Right after a meal, a short walk helps muscles pull in some of that sugar themselves, before insulin has to do all the work alone. No pace to hit, no steps to count, just moving. Even a walk to the mailbox and back can ease the same fast rise the little fire lit at dinner. 10 minutes, that's the whole ask. Then comes the part that used to belong to dessert. Water goes on to warm while the shoes come off by the door. Not coffee, not the last of the wine. A spoon of chamomile, steeped slow. No sugar spike waiting at the bottom of the cup. No fire that has to burn down later. This is what those hands were reaching for all along. Something warm, not something sweet. The heat sits in the palms first, long before the first sip. Outside, the sky has gone the color of the tea itself. A short walk to settle the meal, a warm cup to settle the evening. 2 small trades, not a new diet. Some evenings it will be tea, other evenings just the walk. Either one still counts. 4 small steps now sit on the table, still separate. Tonight, the last piece is putting them in order. 4 small steps set on the table. Tonight, they finally line up in one order. Not 4 chores, one sequence, the same 4 steps, in the same order most nights. First, right after dinner, while the plates are still on the table, the small, sweet bite, early, not late. Then the walk, unhurried, while the sky fades slowly from gold to gray. Then the cup, warm, held in both hands, in the exact spot where dessert used to sit. Those are the hands that used to reach for a spoon at midnight. Now they close around something warm instead. Swap the order. Tea first, dessert at 9, and the same 4 steps stop holding. Order isn't a preference here. It's the instruction the body actually reads. That is the whole circuit again. Sugar, walk, warmth. Each step answering the one before it. Follow it, and the 2 conductors finally trade the podium in order. No collision at 3 anymore. Just one system quietly handing off to the other. Rest is not a reward you earn. It's how the body remembers how to heal. So tell me, the early sweet bite, the after-dinner walk, or the warm cup, which one starts tonight for you?